Well, good morning. It's also my pleasure to welcome you here on our Christmas weekend services. My name is Shalane Coit. I'm also one of the teaching pastors here at Canyon View Vineyard, and we're so glad to have all of you with us this morning. And as you're watching a little bit of the montage play out in the defunct family, you can certainly see that Ima has an issue. And the issue that Ima has is with her name. And it simply is this: she doesn't like her name. And so she's changed her name and she calls herself Dandelion. And I think there are times in our lives too where because of some kind of situation, we have allowed our name to change and our identity to get changed by a situation and our name to be affected by our identity. For example, there might be people who have spent this year or even longer or months battling an illness. And maybe you feel like your name is sickness. And there could be people here, perhaps, who have lost a loved one. And you feel as if your name is sorrow. And others here this morning who, maybe because of a broken relationship, a relationship that has ended, feel like your name is actually broken. That that's what your identity is. And still others in here may feel like this has been a time where you are so lonely and feel abandoned that you call your name alone. And then there perhaps are some friends in here this morning whose lives are so out of control, maybe because of their marriage, maybe because of a child, perhaps it's a business or your finances, but because of the out of control nature, you feel like your name is chaos. And the second truth that brings us joy during this season is this: Jesus knows our actual name. You see, there's a great verse in the Gospel of John, a New Testament writer and friend of Jesus. And in the 10th chapter, in the 3rd verse, we get this feeling of Jesus as the shepherd. And when it says that the watchman opens up the gate for him and the sheep listen to his voice, he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. 14 years ago this month, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And after chemotherapy, radiation, a bone marrow transplant, and even a relapse 3 years later, I could have gone by the name sickness. But Jesus said no. And he called me by a different name, and he led me out of that situation. And the name that he called me by was encourager. As he told me, I will have an opportunity to encourage others. Well, just 2 weeks ago, a member of our choir, who's missing from our tenor section, Steve Sanford, was diagnosed with leukemia. And what a joy it's been for me to be able to encourage him and his family. My family and I drove to Denver and spent a few days with them as they're there getting the first round of many rounds of a very vigorous treatment. And I was able to encourage Steve by saying, Steve, your name is not death. And your name is not sickness. God has a great name for you. And as Jesus calls that name and leads you out, follow his voice. And for those of us in here, if we could also take that same kind of interpretation into our name on as well. If instead of saying, my name is sorrow, if we listen to the shepherd when he said, no, your name is not sorrow, your name is relief. Because as you come to me, with the times that you feel sorrowful, I can relieve you, and then you will also be able to relieve others. Because I am the father to the people who don't have a father. I am the husband to the husbandless. I am the companion to those who need a friend. And I am rest to those who are weary. And to the people who feel like their name is broken, Jesus says, no, your name isn't broken. Your name is actually healer. Because I'm going to help you heal along every step of the road that you take into a relationship with me. And then you're going to be able to also be a healer to others as you help them up to the next step of their healing. And for those who say, my name is alone, he says, you're not alone. Your name is actually gatherer. As you gather people to you to tell the story of how I am with you, and as you gather closer to me, you become gatherer, not alone. And finally, to those people who say, my name is chaos, he says, no. You turn your problems over to me. You give me your marriage. You give me that child. You turn your finances, your business, whatever it is, to me. Your name is not chaos, because once you turn it over, your name will be peace. And for all of us in here, our name was sinner, because that's the way we're born. But because of what Jesus Christ was born to do, our name is called forgiven. And that is a truth that brings us joy, that Jesus knows our actual name. And now I invite you to watch as Ima gets some resolve regarding her name.
Ima, sweetie, why is it that you always call me by my first name?
You know, right or wrong, I do it to get back at you.
To get back at me? What did I do, sweetheart?
You named me.
Well, I don't believe I understand.
Do you realize what you named me? I'm a funk. I'm a funk. You can't tell me you never thought of that. I was ridiculed my whole school years. I'm a flunk, I'm a punk, disfunk. As long as it rhymed with funk, they used it. Oh, I just wanted to prove to the world I was somebody different. Me. Just me. I just wanted to be confident in being who I am. And who in my generation has the name Ima? Nobody. I totally hate my name. It's like a cruel joke.
Oh,
I'm sorry if that hurts you. Oh, I'm just trying to be honest.
I am so sorry, baby girl. I should have told you about that years ago.
Told me about what?
Well, when I was pregnant with you, things got bad, really bad. Joy was in kindergarten, and the teacher was telling me that she wouldn't stop pinching kids, and she wanted to go out and organize recess games. And I just didn't know what to do.
Well, organization was always in my bones. I remember being so frustrated because those kids wouldn't listen to my rules.
Well, I know that now that's one of your strong suits. But then, I didn't try to understand your personality way back then. I just thought of myself as a failure as a parent. Well, there were other things that were going on then too. Dad and I, we were struggling.
Financially?
No, in our marriage. We fought a lot, and, well, he even contemplated leaving.
But I had no idea.
Well, I know, we tried to hide it from you. At that time, I was feeling like I was a failure as a wife, too. Ima, about that time, this dear elderly lady came into my life, and her name was Ima. And she made it clear that it was not short for Imogene. It was just Ima. You know, she loved Jesus more than life, and she took everything to him in prayer. I learned so much from her. And every day, after Joy went to school, she would come to the house, and we would pray together about everything. Now I know that those prayers began to change in your father's heart, and mine too.
Mom, why didn't you ever tell me this before?
Well, I was concerned about what happened to Ima first.
Well, what happened to her?
Well, she was killed instantly in a car wreck a week before you were born. And so Dad and I knew that if you were a girl, that we were going to name you after the person who saved our family. If it hadn't been for her, we wouldn't have remained a family.
I can't believe you never told me this.
Well, I should have. But you know what? If I had told you this, I would have had to tell you about Dad's and my struggles. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want you guys to fear for the family stability. So I never told you. And I know the choice was mine, and it was better for me emotionally. But I see now that I hurt you deeply. Can you ever forgive me?
Of course, Mom.
Oh, thank you. That sounded wonderful. You haven't called me that in years.
It felt good to me, too.
You know what? I don't want you running away from your heritage, and I will call you anything that you want me to. It's more important that you feel a part of this family.
Oh, thanks, Mom, but I want you to call me Ima.
Oh.
I want everyone to call me Ima. No more M or Dandelion. I'm a funk. It represents such total strength. I like it. It's a perfect fit.
I've always liked your name. When I was younger, people would ask me if it was short for Imogene, and I always told them no, but I thought of the word imagine, and it fits your personality. You are so creative and imaginative. You fit just as you are.
Kids can be mean. I've found they'll come up with anything to call somebody a name. Forget them. Hey, if you hadn't been named Ima, I guess I never would have been born. So I think your name is fantastic.
Thanks, you're right. I'm starting new today as Ima Funk.
Thanks for sharing that story, Mom. I guess somehow it makes you a little bit more human.
Oh, well, how's that?
Well, you smile constantly and you reminisce about everything. It's always made me feel like I need to put the everything is great face painted on.
Oh.
I just appreciate knowing that you struggled.
Well, I do have my struggles, and I still do. I guess that's the one part of my life that I just don't enjoy looking at.
But if that's who you are, you can't run from it. I mean, look at what you guys all thought of me. It wasn't the true me. I mean, I love that I got to tell you guys some ideas for the company. It was grueling hiding it all this time.
Well, I guess you're right. I should face up to my struggles, and I shouldn't cover it up with a smile.
And isn't that what Ima would have wanted you to do? Pray about everything? It doesn't sound like she pretended at all.
Oh, she didn't. That sounded just like Ima. Thank you for reminding me.
I was just thinking how much you like to reminisce.
Yeah, but we hear the same story over and over.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, I guess I have a pocket full of wonderful memories, and I just want to hang on to them. I didn't realize that I said them over and over so much. Well, just look here. My children are teaching me this Christmas.
Mom, I want to hear all the stories, good and bad.
Well, okay. Joy, do you remember the time you stuffed peas up your nose?
Yes, thank you very much. I don't think that's one we need to repeat.
Oh, no, that's a great one. Were you storing your food till dinner?
Yeah, I never even did that.
Oh, she found something that fit perfectly.
You were a total perfectionist, even in sticking peas up your nose. You found the perfect fit.
Do you remember when Ima and I made a snowman? Do you remember that one?
No?
Well, you know what? You were pretty young, about 3.
You thought Frosty was real. And so the next day when we went out and Frosty was half the size, you cried and cried. You went running out there and grabbed the little carrot and tried to put it back on his nose, and his head fell off. You started screaming.
Well, didn't you guys tell me Frosty wasn't real?
Well, of course we told you that. But you were so convinced that he was real that you cried all the rest of the day.
So I was totally sensitive. That's a good thing.
Tell me about the day you found out you were pregnant with me.
Oh, well,
I remember that one.
Oh, I don't. Too little.
Well, that was a special day.
I think Dad was really hoping for a boy.
Well, yes, he was. He was hoping to get a bit of testosterone in, to balance out the family, for sure.
I think that's too when I got my first whiteboard. Well, it wasn't really called a whiteboard back then, but it was a board and I could put papers all over it.
Shush, I don't think they had whiteboards way back then.
I remember making a list of all the things that we needed to do to get ready for the baby.
Well, you know what? I'd forgotten about that. But you were just my little organizer. Why, you even color-coded everything with your crayons.
I remember seeing a picture of that.
Well, you know what, Larry? The day you were born, your dad was so proud. Oh, he loved the girls dearly. But he said, I have a son to take charge of the business now, and I know he'll do a great job. Well, you know what? He even called you the future businessman of America. Well, you know, I'd forgotten about that till now.
It means a lot to know he believed in me.
I miss him.
Me too.
Oh, he was stubborn, but I loved him dearly.
He was
You know,
like
it's
a
hard to
second-
think that all that time has passed.
Yeah, yep. He was like a second father to me. He taught me so much.
All those wonderful memories. And you know, I like memories.
Hey, Mom, do you have a picture of Ima?
Oh, yes, I do. It's right here in my purse. I always carry one. Let me
What a
just show
great
it to
day.
you.
I'm glad I came this year.
I'm going to go check on the food.